So we finally know who the all-new Venom is, and I'm still not entirely sure how I feel about it. So let's talk about what happened here in issue number 5 that gave us this big reveal. So if we remember here that we had just found out back in issue number 4 that Rick Jones is with the sleeper symbiote. Now where we start out here in this issue is at Mary Jane Watson and Paul Rabin's apartment. I'm still not even sure if I'm saying his last name right. Now who's knocking on the door here is Robbie Robertson. And Paul's like, yeah, you can come on in. I hope this is not about Dylan because dude should be currently in school right now. We know that Dylan has not been following rules and orders here because he never has followed rules and orders, and the fact that he also hates Paul. But let's move on. So Robbie gets right to it. He's like, okay, so Dylan Brock, let me guess. He's made a list of all the people who could be Venom. Now Paul tries to explain. He's like, listen, Mr. Robertson here, he's just a kid who wants to have a relationship with his father. Well, Robbie's like, listen, I actually wanted to keep Dylan out of this. I was hoping to talk to your other half. And Paul's like, well, Mary Jane, you know, she had an appointment. And Robbie just hits him with the, really? As herself or as a jackpot? And Paul's all shocked. He's like, hold on, okay, what? So Robbie begins to explain. He's like, I've published every story about Jackpot's career, every photo, including those blurry shots from before she even wore a mask. I've known Mary Jane for years. I can puzzle these things out, Paul. Mary Jane Watson is a Jackpot, which would make you her man in the chair, so to speak. And I suspect that between the three of us, we know who Venom is too. So right in that moment, we switch over here to, you know, that fight that was going on between Sleeper, Madam Mask, Venom, you know, that one, that really big one right there. And I love how we switch over here because immediately we hear Rick Jones saying, for what it's worth, it's not me, as he's throwing what looks like some gas here over at Madam Mask. And he continues to explain. He's like, spraying you with the sensitized tear gas. I mean, Sleeper's in control here. Rick Jones is just the host. And he continues on. He's like, he's going to make me forget all of this too, just like every other time since this started. Ethically dubious, right? It's like when I was a Hulk. I'll come to somewhere with these vague, foggy memories. And then we hear a voice that says, brain fog, you say? And oh yeah, we forgot about MODOK, right? And MODOK says, then allow me to clear your head right off your shoulders. And in that moment, that's when we begin to see the sleeper agent almost completely falling off of Rick Jones. Now, this is where the all-new Venom who was on the ground, he starts to spring into action because now he sees that Sleeper is in danger. And he's like, thanks for buying us time, but you need to go. And man, listen, I could not help but laugh because Venom then throws his gooey fist into the nostrils of MODOK. Like, come on, what is going on here? This is too funny. And then Venom starts talking to Sleeper. He's like, what do you think happens if you reveal the sleeper agent to the world right now? That you can remote control hosts? They're already afraid of us. And then Sleeper responds. He's like, all the more reason for you to hurry up and break us out of that prison. And Sleeper continues on. He's like, you know the humans want an excuse to put us down. It's only Flash keeping us fed in there. Maybe I should have gone with plan A though. I'm sure Dylan wouldn't have any qualms about sticking it to the man. So Venom's like, listen, leave your brother out of this. And then in that moment, MODOK, you remember those symbiote goo arms that were in MODOK's nostrils? So what does MODOK do? MODOK says, achoo! And sneezes out his arms. And he tells him, he's like, telekinetic nostril beams, a first, even for me. My nose is itching like crazy. Given the length of my arms, you understand how that might put me in a mood. Yo, MODOK had me dying in this issue, man. And MODOK continues on. He's like, a kill everyone here mood. Now, Madam Mask of all people, she steps in. She's like, listen, MODOK, do not do this. We can still turn this around. But MODOK is like, yo, I think not. Your plan failed, Madam Mask. And you know as well as I that when a caper like this goes south, someone has to take the fall. So MODOK, once again, he shoots out a telekinetic blast, turning once again everything into rubble. And now we can see that there are people who are falling off of the building. And if someone doesn't do something soon, they're all gonna die. So as they're falling, Venom says, the hostages, Sleeper to us. And he tells him, he's like, yo, web cradle wide as you can do it. We need to catch everybody. Hit the big debris with projectile weapon, stick it to the wall before anyone gets hit. And Sleeper's like, I'll do what I can. And Venom's like, do better, do it right. Nobody dies today, you hear me? And then MODOK comes in again, he's like, really? Not even you? As he blasts Venom. And while he's falling, Sleeper's concerned. But Venom's like, just shore up that web. Don't worry about me. Your dad's made of tougher stuff than that. And listen, MODOK is not all too pleased about this. He's like, the bonds of family, how touching. I never had a father, of course. One advantage of being a clone of the original George Tarleton. I lack his many weaknesses. So this time, MODOK tries to hit Venom where he knows it really would hurt. And he targets Sleeper. And Sleeper takes a direct hit. And as Sleeper falls, the symbiote says, Father, I finished it. And Venom's like, nice job, kid. We'll take it from here. But MODOK's not done. He's like, you see how debilitating it is to have a family? That's not just waste web, is it? You're spraying your own substance like a water cannon just to exceed terminal velocity and catch up with your worthless spawn. And when Venom catches Sleeper, the symbiote almost confirms it and says, he's right, Sleeper. I'm a lot weaker than usual, so you might want to brace for this part. As they land down with massive impact. And when they get on the ground, Venom says to Sleeper, oof, my host says nothing's broken, which is a minor miracle. You in one piece in there, Jones? And Sleeper's like, he's fine, he's fine. And Venom was like, well, it's good. It was him that we were trying to save. We need to have a long talk about controlling human brains, though, and ethical boundaries as Sleeper. But in that moment, they really don't have the time to really have that type of discussion because here comes MODOK one more time. And MODOK just continues to be a clown because he says, I mean, if I could clap my hands, I absolutely would. And maybe I should, smushing you both to a pulp with a pair of giant telekinetic fists, then picking the bones out. That would surely improve a disappointing day. And Venom responds, yeah, you've got a big brain and a big skull, and it does big things. But you know, the only thing we see when we look at you is a big target. And in that moment, the Sleeper symbiote removes itself from Rick Jones and starts to try to enter the brain here of MODOK. And the Sleeper symbiote says, your mind is very powerful, MODOK, but since I can take direct control of the organic firmware housing it, that big vulnerable hunk of brain matter, I can simply switch it off. And now we got a Sleeper MODOK? And he tells MODOK, now go to sleep. And what he does here is that he leaves MODOK in a nice catatonic state for the authorities. But first he uses him to telepathically blank everyone's memory of the Sleeper agent, which Venom is not all too pleased about because Venom's like, you can't just tamper with people's minds like that. But Sleeper is like, it's already done, father. What was the alternative? You said it yourself. It's better the world doesn't know what I can do. It's bad enough that Madame Mask knows about us now as well. And Venom's like, so you didn't blank her memory? Why didn't you do that? And Sleeper's like, well, she's not here. How was I supposed to do it? She must have escaped in the confusion. But then this is funny right here because Sleeper's like, that's just one less mind I tampered with, isn't it? You should be happy. So later on, we see Venom here heading back to his base of operations. But before they get there, he would like to have a talk with his host. And he mentions that goo jet stun from earlier, that took a lot out of me. I can barely make a web. If we don't get back to base soon, we're both going to collapse. And I definitely don't have it in me to change my basic shape or put on any bright colors. If you want me to disguise myself, I need rest and food. So let's not go in the front door, okay? And about this moment, you guys recognize where this apartment is, right? And Venom continues. He's like, we'll keep quiet. We lay low. We eat the emergency chocolate. And hold on, do you hear voices? And it's in that moment when we switch back to the conversation that Robbie Robertson was having with Paul. And Robbie's basically laying down his investigation. He's like, listen, so the first anyone heard of the all-new Venom was at the Madame Mask trial, or rather when AIM arrived to kill her. Paul says, right, and there were 4 people who were there for that and not there when Venom arrived. Dylan's suspect list. You, Luke Cage, Rick Jones, and Madame Mask herself. But then Robbie's like, really? 4 people? That was Dylan's entire list? The trial was televised. It was going out live. So yes, we were suspects, but so was anyone within a web slinging distance. I guess the four of us being gone when Venom arrived seemed like the biggest clue. But really? It was always the red herring. And he continues, he's like, not that I told Rick or Luke that. I let them keep thinking it was definitely one of us. I was starting to suspect the truth, you see, even then. And I didn't know if that was a secret I wanted to tell. He's like, why would Venom be there at all? When was the last time the symbiote involved itself in non-symbiote business? But it did that day and again since, like it's on patrol. Whoever the new host is, they act a lot like a superhero, one with experience. Beyond that, well, I was a reporter, Paul. One of the tools of the reporter is eyewitness testimony. Allow me to quote eyewitness number 1, Judge Suzanne Phillips. She was within earshot of Andrew Forson that day, as well as his body language expert, McNeil. And we see here in an interview that Robbie went through, he's like, McNeil told Forson he recognized the new Venom. He'd seen the new host recently, but McNeil's been in custody since the super villain gang war. So Robbie asked the question, he's like, so which heroes would he have seen during that? Which then makes him jump here to witness 2. Slice of the Scar Field Unit, who thought I was writing a nice little puff piece about an encounter they had Thursday lunchtime. And here we see one of the agents saying, get this, while the creep's running away, he says he's late for a meeting. You gotta laugh, right? While Agent Jillian Carson is telling Agent Henderson, is like, listen, that's classified information. So Paul's picking up on it. He's like, wait, late for a meeting? And that was Thursday. It wasn't with the counselor, was it? So then Robbie continues, he's like, a superhero active in the gang war going to a relationship counselor seems unlikely, Paul. Witness number 3, the mercenary Chance. I spoke to him in pre-trial detention after the warehouse fire on Thursday night. And this is where we see Chance saying, he's like, teenager, long hair. He and Venom acted like father and son. There was a whole divorced dad speech. Now, if I were a betting man, and that's when Robbie lets us know that he placed Dylan Brock at the scene. And Paul's like, leave Dylan out of this. And then Robbie's like, yeah, but Venom didn't. What was the symbiote doing at that random warehouse? Was he tracking down Madam Mask or tracking his previous host? If it's the latter, why that night in particular? How did Venom know Dylan Brock was out alone? So this is when Paul's like, maybe the symbiote has some psychic link to Dylan? And Robbie's like, he probably does. Dylan is Eddie Brock's son by all accounts. There's a familial connection with the symbiote as well. But that just raises a bigger question. Maybe the one that answers all the others. Why would Venom let someone else raise his child? Now, Paul comes up with these reasons. He's like, I don't know. Maybe Venom thinks his son needs a loving home. The kid was living on the streets. For God's sake, he needed someone. And it was Flash Thompson who set this up. MJ said he was Venom's host. The symbiote would trust him, right? And Flash trusts MJ. So that's a rational explanation. But Robbie stayed calm. He's like, listen, I guess it would be if you fostering Dylan was Flash Thompson's idea. Did he come to you, Paul? You can see the look on Paul's face as Robbie continues. He's like, or did you go to him? Yeah, you can see my man Paul, he don't deal with stress very well. You can see it clearly. This man don't deal with stress really well at all. So then Robbie's like, sorry, Paul. You didn't know, huh? Which means you chose not to tell him. Am I right? And in that moment, that is when we see the all-new Venom come in and reveals his host as Mary frickin' Jane Watson comes in and says, yeah, Robbie, you hit a jackpot. Now, I stand with everybody here who probably has these emotions that will probably say right now, WTF? Seriously, MJ, of all people, MJ, really, my dude? You know, I would have been more impressed if it had been Paul. You know why? Because I would have said, man, the Marvel writers got some cojones. They went there. They did it. But then we got MJ Who wanted this? No one. I'm gonna need an explanation, which apparently we're supposed to be getting here in the next issue. But I would love to know, what are your thoughts? What are your comments down below? Leave it. I would love to hear from you. I know this is about to be a very fruitful comment section. I'll join you in there. Appreciate y'all watching. Like and subscribe to this video here if you haven't done so already. Hit the notification bell so that you know when the next video does go live. Also, check out our links that are down below in the description, where you can join our Patreon, which is another way to support the channel. Also, as well, you can join our Discord if you want to continue the conversation. As always, we appreciate you and thank you so much for kicking it with Keepin' It Comic. Bye.